Okay, still trying. Yeah, sorry, I think it's maybe taking too much time. It's not working for me. So never mind. I'll just use them as my own on my own end. So and I apologize. I'll be speaking in English because I think that's become my strongest language. I've spent most of my life in North America now. So I was really interested to hear what people a lot more knowledgeable and experienced in some of these matters have already spoken about. I have a few points which I thought might contribute something to this discussion. So it seems like there are two distinct issues. One is the education policy in general in Pakistan, and a lot has been written about it, and I've read about it a little bit. And then there is this issue of provincial autonomy, and this new curriculum, the single national curriculum, seems to have implications for both of them. There is some resistance, obviously, coming from Sindh. Sindh is digging its heels in. The concerns in Sindh that I've read about, first is religious content in science texts, and I was really interested to listen to the colleague who just talked about the kinds of concerns about Sindh's position, which are also being raised about Nazira Quran and things of that sort. So that is one thing. Now, that is a very appropriate position for Sindh to take. Anyone who knows, anyone who takes science seriously, who knows something about the philosophy of science. I have been interested in artificial intelligence for about 30 years, and I'm interested in discovery and things of that sort. And a fundamental concept is that of falsifiability of knowledge. So we are supposed to be able to debate things. There is no, in certain contexts in math, there is a concept of the truth, but otherwise in science, it's theories, and they can be refuted. So one thing that I would like to say is that anything that may not be challenged does not belong in a classroom. Anything that goes in front of the students, it must be something that can be challenged and argued. If it cannot be challenged, it should not be there. And what is it about to have anything in the classroom which cannot be challenged? Well, it's not about education. It's not about learning. It's not about knowledge. It is about domination and colonialism. So that is so it is an affront to the society of Sindh and globally. It's just telling people that you may not discuss certain things. One of the references that I go back to for things like this is Professor Hoodboy's 1991 book, Islam and Science. And on page 40, he cites this scholar, a Pakistani scholar, and his dissertation at Harvard from 1964, in which, so one of the things that he points out is how in Sindh, he found, so he did a study on the attitudes of science teachers about science and religion. And Sindh was identified as a place where the attitudes were different. People were not mixing science and religion. So Sindh has a long history of this kind of different way of looking at science, and it partly comes from the long history of having a different kind of syncretic religious tradition in Sindh also, which we are all very uncomfortable talking about. We are afraid of talking about. But there are differences there, and it is dangerous in Pakistan to say things like that because you become considered the other. So religion is one concern, and the language was another concern. And now maybe at some level in Punjab and Pakhtunkhwa, the language and religion are not as much of a concern, and maybe that's why, along with the fact that the PTI has presence there, this curriculum is being welcomed. But even in Punjab, places like HSN University, they are not accepting it willingly. So I see three problems in the kind of curriculum this is and the kind of curriculum we've had. First, the real scientific knowledge that exists, that is being presented in a twisted kind of way. Tools are being, it's being presented to people as tools to be used rather than foundational knowledge that is presented to people to actually understand what they are about and how to apply them, when to apply them. So it produces worse scholars and knowledge workers. Then there is anti-knowledge that is taught. I've briefly talked about this. Things may not be challenged. I mean, that's not really knowledge. And then, as Tariq Rahman Sahab very eloquently described, there are things which are not being taught. History, art, music, philosophy. Intentionally creating a citizenry which, without a liberal arts kind of education, which is considered a foundation of Western style education, which is needed to build the intellectual grounding. And I'm borrowing some of the words from things that I saw quoted about this, building an intellectual grounding needed for critical thinking, looking at things around you and deciding what is right and what is wrong. So this is by design. This is not an accident. The idea was always in Pakistan that we have to maintain a segment of population which is ignorant enough that they would just blindly follow whatever we ask them to do. But I think they've started seeing that even Bangladesh, which people used to make fun of in Pakistan, I mean, it's getting ahead of Pakistan. As a professor of computer science, I see students who are applying to our programs from Bangladesh, and they are coming in large numbers. I mean, Bangladesh is the new India as far as academics is concerned, and Pakistan is nowhere. And we have my colleagues have concerns about students who are coming from Pakistan. Very few of them are coming. So Pakistan is the establishment is realizing it, and now they have a new plan that we want to produce a larger number of more competent, still not very free thinking, but still a larger number of these people who will fuel the economy. And the plan is to have more numerous and better quality automatons. So again, people who should be in our control, we should be able to deploy them wherever for whatever we want. They should not be thinking openly. We obviously want, proper, normal kind of society. If you look at the kind of society, the trajectory that we had in 1947, what Sindh was and where we were headed, we want to get back on track with that. We want to have less poverty, thriving people, economic growth, good governance, all kinds of good things. Also, we want freedom to be ourselves, to preserve our own language, culture, and religious traditions. We have our own religious tradition. We have, I remember being in school and in Karachi and hearing things in class which made me feel like I don't belong here. I was always the one Sindhi kid in class, and things that we were, my father was an educated person, so it was a big privilege which many Sindhis don't have. And we were taught at home that, okay, well, don't take those things seriously, but don't tell anyone. So it was like, we're living in a place where we were living under colonial rule, and live in Canada, and a part of Canada where the colonialism is a very current topic. And we are talking about, we are bringing back the Cree culture and Cree language and native language of Saskatchewan. So things like that, the world has moved on and we are stuck in the same old place. But not,
you can continue.
Sorry.
Great.
Yeah, I'll just take another minute or so. Thank you. So So we need the kinds of things that we really need. For that, money is needed. For money, you need to generate wealth, and people have to pay taxes. And then we have the taxes, you don't use those to buy weapons. You spend it on education and health of citizens. So to conclude, I mean, I think there are some ideas. There's this idea that we to preserve your language, for example, you don't really just try to preserve it, you create a demand for it. Demand drives supply, even in things like electric power, the systems that are the way they are designed, demand drives supply. So we have to create demand for that. We may have to make it valuable at university, for university admissions. Instead of English aptitude tests, there should be Sindhi aptitude tests. People should be tested on vocabulary. I learned 4,000 English language new words preparing for GRE. Why doesn't anybody have to learn 4,000 Sindhi words to get into university? Again, why aren't there incentives for professors at universities to convert science topics, science courses to Sindhi language? And things of that type will matter. We have to make it valuable. We don't just keep preaching to people to adopt it. We have to create incentives. A normal, proud society around the world is going to create those incentives. We unfortunately are in a position where these things are imposed from top, and we can't. So I'll just stop with that. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. I think, thank you very much for a very enlightening perspective. And I think we can come back to you when we have a Q&A session. There are questions. Thank you. अब मैं गुजारिश करूंगा, यहाँ वाशिंगटन डीसी से मारवी सरमद साहबा ने ज्वाइन किया है। मारवी का तारुफ सबको मालूम है, वो एक्टिविस्ट हैं, राइटर हैं, और आजकल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ कनेक्टिकट में पढ़ाती हैं, I guess, ह्यूमन राइट्स. Over to you, Marvi.
Thank you very much, Mushtaq Saab. It's a pleasure, and it's a great honor for me to be on the same panel as of so many other, very tall personalities in Pakistan's intellectual landscape. मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा कि मैं अपनी बात को कहाँ से शुरू करूं, क्योंकि इतनी सारी बातें हो चुकी हैं और इतना कुछ है अभी भी कहने के लिए.